I would like to welcome you to our walk through Romans. We are doing a verse by verse study of the book of Romans. And so I just want to welcome you and say thank you for watching. Today we're in Romans, the fourth chapter, verse number 9. Let me just say this. Romans is such a complex book, but it's such an important book because it really gives us the best understanding of our salvation. But it's so complex, and so I'm going to ask you to go back and watch the prior videos, and so you can get a better understanding of what's going on in this book of Romans. So again, today we're in Romans, the fourth chapter. We're in verse number 9, and this is what it says. Is this blessing then on the circumcised or on the uncircumcised also? For we say faith is credited to Abraham as righteousness. The Apostle Paul asks another question. It's a question that he doesn't expect us to answer. We call it a rhetorical question. But he asks this question: is this blessing then on the circumcised? What's he talking about? First of all, we have to define what is the blessing that he's talking about. Now, if you study the Old Testament, you'll find out many, many times that Abraham was blessed by God. So what blessing is he talking about? Is he talking about the blessing in your fields and things like that? Or is he just talking about the general blessing that of Abraham having children and then becoming a great nation? So what blessing is the Apostle Paul talking about? Well, I believe that the Apostle Paul is talking about the blessing that comes out of Genesis, the 12th chapter, verses 2 and 3. This is the blessing that tells us that Abraham's going to have children and that nation is going to become a mighty nation. It's a blessing that's also found in chapter 15, verse 6 of Genesis, where it says, and then he believed in the Lord and he reckoned it to him as righteousness. How many of you know that righteousness is a blessing? So the Apostle Paul asks this question: is this blessing? Now, let me just say this. The children of Israel were very intent on blessings. In fact, some people have said, the reason why Israel has become so prosperous is because every Sabbath, a father will take his children and he will repeat a blessing over his children. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. That was the blessing that's been spoken for hundreds and hundreds of years over the children of Israel. And so this blessing is very important. And again, Paul is writing to a mixed group. He's writing to Jewish people in Rome. He's also writing to Gentiles in Rome. And so he asks this question: is this blessing, and the word blessing, by the way, is a noun. He's talking about something that's a person, place, or thing. This is a thing. Is this blessing then on the circumcised? Now, that's what the Jewish people would believe, that only the circumcised people could be blessed. But then he throws this in there, and he says, or on the uncircumcised also. Now, how many of you know he just threw a wrench in the thinking of every Jewish person in Rome? Because what's Paul doing is Paul is saying, is the blessing something that is just for those who keep the law? Is it just for those who are circumcised? Or is the blessing also for the uncircumcised? Well, the Apostle Paul doesn't really answer that question right away. But he goes on and he says, "For we say faith was credited to Abraham as righteousness." Now, again, that's found in Genesis, the 15th chapter. Faith was credited, faith was credited to Abraham as righteousness. Now, this word credited, again, it means to put something in someone's account. And faith, what did faith do? Faith was given to Abraham. Faith was credited to Abraham. Faith was put in Abraham's account. And what did that faith produce? It says here that faith as righteousness. You see, when Abraham believed God, God credited to Abraham the blessing of righteousness. By the way, let me just say this. The blessing of righteousness is the greatest blessing that a person could ever have. You say, well, why do you say that? Well, because the blessing of righteousness then contains all the other blessings. Because what does righteousness do? Righteousness brings a person into relationship with God. And when a person understands his righteousness, that it doesn't come by being circumcised, it doesn't come by keeping the law, but that righteousness is given or is credited because of our faith, then all of a sudden we understand that God is for us. He's not against us. That all the things that God has promised to us are ours because of the righteousness that we have. You see, there are people that go around now that are saying, well, you know what? If you want to be blessed, then you need to do this, 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 and this. You know what? That is not what the Bible teaches. If you want to be blessed, put your faith in what God has done. Put your faith in what Jesus has done for you on the cross. And then you will have the righteousness of God on the inside of you. You will be just. You will be in right standing with God. And then the blessings flow. I hope that you understand this. We're going to bring this video to an end as we're going to start tomorrow in verse number 10. So thank you for watching. God bless you, and we'll see you tomorrow.